Meeting of the October 31st Water Quality Management Committee will come to order. First item on the agenda is a report on town meeting articles, precinct meeting schedule, discussion on need for fact sheets, mailings, etc., public outreach in general. Let's start by running through the articles, and maybe John, you could give us a brief précis of what's in Article 41.
Article 41 is the flow neutral bylaw for areas that are covered by sewers that are treated by the West Falmouth sewage treatment plant. It's basically an article that lets us control the flow to that West Falmouth treatment plant. And its main features are you get to keep what you got, and then we make allowances for various other things and a variance procedure finally that is run by the selectmen.
Fair enough. Article 42, Ron.
Oh, thanks, Eric. Yes, this one concerns the special legislation for betterments in terms of the interest rate and the terms of the repayment term period. And it proposes that in terms of the interest rates, that we're going to ask for the ability to charge anywhere between 0 to 2% and up to 5%, but 0 to 2% over the lending term that we get, but no more than 5%. So that was revision from the subgroup's recommendation, but it was there. It was put in for the 0%. There is an example from 2008 in Mattapoisett where they got special legislation to allow for 0%. In other words, the same lending terms as the funds that the town of Mattapoisett received, and on the 30-year term, that the town of Marion, I think in 2009, had a special legislation granted so that they could have a 30-year payback period versus the state law that requires a 20-year payback period for betterments. So those are some. And the other was that, and I think it's in here, I can't remember, but the payments would be the same, equal payments through the 30-year period annually or quarterly, however is charged by the town. The one thing that is not in here is the percentage of the cost that would be included as a betterment versus that shared by the tax base. I think in New Silver Beach it was 70% betterment and 30% shared by the town for tax base, and that will be determined by the Board of Selectmen. So that is one element that will be coming, and that's actually a big factor, because if the interest if it turns out to be higher. But one thing I just like to, as this is looked at and considered, I think as we go into the future, is that particularly in the Little Pond area, which is the sewer service area to be expansion area, that area, as well as the rest of the town, will probably be burdened a bit by more costly drinking water or water because of the investment the town anticipates doing, as well as that particular area is facing the FEMA changes regarding flood insurance. And so all of these costs are going to be accumulating. So our intent was to make an opportunity for the lowest possible cost for a system put in that area, and so basically that's what it contends. But those are the elements that to be considered by town meeting, I think, on this one.
Great. Matt or Wynn, just give a brief summary of Article 43.
Yeah, Article 43 will exempt people who join the
Eco-toilet
Eco-toilet Administration Project.
You got to remember this.
Well, from having to pay the betterments that may be included for sewering in their area. It won't prevent other people who aren't in the sewer area from participating in the program and being exempted in the future, but it is primarily geared towards people that are going to be in the sewer area.
Fair enough. Virginia, Article 44, which is not one that we had put in, but we're going to have to discuss and vote on it tonight, whether or not we want to support it.
Right. Article 44 was put in by the selectmen, and it's basically a repeat of an article that was passed in November of 2011. It's a land swap for a parcel owned by the Steamship Authority and a parcel owned by the town. And it was appraised as equal value, so there is no money involved. But the land swap was not able to proceed because one of the conditions of the 2011 motion said that a rock on the parcel that's being swapped had to be preserved in perpetuity, and that had to be done through the Mass Historical Commission. And the Mass Historical Commission has declined to give that mark of approval. They felt that the documentation the town submitted was not conclusive, was the word they said, that this particular rock was in fact an ancient boundary of the town. So it is still possible to preserve the rock. It's a 99-year preservation, and that can be done through the local historical commission. So this article accomplishes that.
Okay,
It's ironic.
It is.
We'll tear down historic buildings, but
It is
Right.
ironic.
we won't disturb a rock.
Yeah, I would argue with them on this, because when you read Freeman's history of Cape Cod, most of the section on Falmouth is devoted to the story of the rock, which the story of the rock being that there was a rock that presumably defined where West Falmouth stopped and North Falmouth started, and nobody remembered where the rock was. So they asked an old Indian who did remember where the rock was, and he took them to it, and there it was. And it's the biggest rock you've ever seen. And at the time, it was covered up with wood
Pieces of
scraps
wood.
and things, because one of the Indian customs was for good luck, you'd throw a piece of wood on the rock. So in any event, we thought that was enough history, but apparently it wasn't enough for the Mass Historical people, so they didn't approve the perpetual easement.
Right, it had no latitude and longitude. So anyway, this will protect the rock and allow the technicalities to be addressed.
Okay, the committee has not adopted it because it wasn't ours, but if somebody wants to make a motion to support it, we could discuss that. Discuss the article.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, moved and
I'll second.
seconded to support Article 44. Discussion?
There's a couple things. Well, actually, I'll just dwell on one of them. But in speaking with the Steamship Authority, what they do plan to do is if this passes,
If the
basically.
exchange
Yeah,
takes
yeah, and this is from previous discussions with Lamson, I think the head of the Steamship Authority, the director, is that they will be preserving the rock,
They will.
but only the rock. So they are not agreeing, say, to have a buffer zone around it so that if people wanted to visit and to see it in sort of somewhat of a natural setting, it would just be, they've agreed to the rock. So it could be that it would just be in the middle of a parking area out there or something, from what he said. But
I think I would make a distinction between what is the legal wording in the exchange and what will become the actuality.
right.
So they're agreeing to preserve the rock, that's the legal language, but the area around it is,
I'm just saying what he said.
yes, and
That's the agreement, really.
that's the sort of
Right.
an old conversation.
Their legal obligation under the terms of the previous thing was limited to the rock.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that may not be their actual plan in practice, but what they're obliged to do when they take title.
Yeah, I mean, that could change, but that's what he said whenever it was a couple years ago. So
Right.
that was just,
Right.
yeah,
Sure.
that could change.
Any other win?
If we were to not vote in favor, if we were not to support this, would this encourage And if it were to go down, that the rock simply wouldn't be preserved at all, or would it be?
Well, the exchange might not take place, I guess,
Yeah.
and then we have another problem. Further discussion? All right, moved and seconded to support Article 44, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Precinct meetings. Some of us went to precinct 1. Ron was there, I was there, Sia was there.
Jerry was there?
Jerry was there, right?
John was there.
John was there.
That's right, okay, well,
Wow.
one more, we would have had an open meeting problem. Or a quorum, a quorum would have been present.
Wasn't your meeting.
Well, yeah.
All right, so 1 and 2 have been taken care of. I think we should have a representative at every meeting, just in case any questions do come up about our articles. Anybody have ones that they'd particularly like to go to?
I have some comments.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so the next meeting is Tuesday, November 5th, and it's in Waquoit.
And I'm not going to be able to be there. I have a town meeting in Westport that I have to be at.
All right, so I'm just going chronologically.
Okay.
When can you be
I
at?
can be there.
Okay.
I
And,
would prefer the one on the 7th, because I can't go on the 6th, and we just took care of the 5th.
Okay, well, anybody good for the 6th?
okay, then on the 6th, we have 3 meetings. I'm sorry, there are 4 precincts, but they're in 3 different places. And I'm willing to go to one. I like to go to East Falmouth, so I prefer precinct 4. But there's also precinct 3, which is in Guscanty and Falmouth, and then 8 and 9 are together, and they're out at the fairgrounds.
I could do
I'd be
3.
happy to go to the fairgrounds, too. That's always a very interesting.
Oh,
Right.
John, that would be wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. And you'll go to, Eric, you'll go to,
I'll do 3 if you want.
you'll do 3, and I'll do 4.
I can do one of them, too.
Okay?
Um,
I think it's fine to have more than one
Sure.
committee member. So Ron, you can pick anyone you want.
Okay,
Then when?
I'll pick it.
And then Thursday is precincts 5 and 6, and that's my precinct, so I would be going to that one anyway.
Okay.
So you go to 2.
So
You covered 2 then. versus-
Well, they're all the same time
they're
and
at the
place.
same place.
No, but you're also going
I-
to East Falmouth.
2 different nights, yes.
Right.
So who's going to precinct 3?
Eric.
Right.
Eric is.
What happened to Steve?
Steve's
I
going.
can go to
Oh.
the one on the 7th.
On the
Even though
7th,
Virginia
with Win.
voted.
Okay,
I think that's good.
No, that's with you.
Which with you?
I'm sorry, on the
Well,
7th.
Precincts 5 and 6 on the
Got it,
5
you're
and
right,
6.
you're right. I was
Okay.
thinking precinct 7.
Right.
Okay, so Virginia
And
and
then
Steve, okay?
Who's going on to the 4th? Precinct 4?
That's me.
Okay, and Virginia. Do you want me to go to any of these?
Yeah. You can choose just like Ron.
I'm going to go to 8 and 9.
Okay?
I like going 8 and 9.
All right.
Oh, I see, yes, it is.
all right, we're set on that. Need for fact sheets, mailings, phoning, email, or whatever. I think we should put together a fact sheet. We did that the last time our articles came up. I think it helps the town meeting members to get a little head start on what we're proposing.
Absolutely. And I think it's particularly critical in the flow neutral one that's complicated enough that we gotta have the salient points of that.
Yes.
Highlighted.
Especially the way it was printed.
Yeah, it takes 6 pages. That's sort of daunting,
Yeah.
even
Well, they
though.
printed the part that didn't need to be printed. The whole existing New Silver Beach bylaw didn't need to be printed. We're just adding on to it. I don't know why they...
Well-
The first thing we're going to do is recommend that town meeting members read the recommendation.
Yes.
Rather than the article, because there have been tweaks to each one of these ones that we've just discussed between the time it originally appeared in the newspaper and the recommendation, and we all know that the motion on the floor will be the article is recommended. So they can cut their reading in half by reading the recommendation.
Well, we'll get together a fact sheet. I think when you go to these precinct meetings, if you could email to me
Questions?
any questions that come up that we should be able to answer in the fact sheet. That would be really helpful, so that when the fact sheet comes out, it'll answer the questions that actually
Great.
are on
And the
people's
fact sheet
minds.
has to come out soon, then, I don't know.
Well, we'll hand it out at town meeting, so it didn't have to be that soon.
Oh, I see, in other words, we don't have to have the fact sheet on our hand.
No.
No, not for the precinct meetings, but definitely for town meeting.
So we gather information for the fact sheet from the
Right,
precinct meeting.
right. Questions that come up that either
Okay.
you can't answer or that we haven't thought of,
Okay.
Right.
or that we can answer. Either way, just so we can get a little head start on the questions.
Okay.
All right. Anything else we should deal with on Article 1 here?
Eric,
I
it
have one.
seems to me we ought to develop the actual plan for the presentations at town meeting. I unfortunately, I think I told you.
Yeah, you're out at sea again.
I'm off.
Yeah.
And I wonder how we're best served, that if we have 3 people jumping up doing this, or whether we should just have the chair present
Yeah.
the 3 articles. I mean, to
Yeah, I
me,
think-
that would make sense.
It probably would. I think this will kind of become clearer as we go to the precinct meeting. Because some of these may be non-controversial, and so we don't need too much of a presentation, but I know
We're
what you're
certainly
saying.
going to need to walk through the flow neutral bylaw.
Yes.
And I think we really need to walk through and have a PowerPoint presentation that says, here's what we're doing,
Yeah.
here are the features.
Yeah.
that,
Maybe if we could have the chair do the presenting, but have the committee standing by to answer detailed questions, which in their area of expertise, that would be good. Because you don't want jumping up and down to the microphone every 3 minutes either.
Right.
All right, well,
Okay.
let's assume that's the way, but we can
So
play with
we
that.
would then, for each of those, have a PowerPoint, probably can be done with one slide.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Although
very
the
brief.
flow neutral may take a couple.
Right.
But the others, I would think with one PowerPoint slide, you could do it, and it would just,
Yeah.
I personally always think that a visual
Absolutely.
helps a lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
especially if it's done in a large format that people can actually read.
Right.
Right, not too much on a page.
Town meeting likes that.
And the language can mirror the fact sheet. So maybe after the fact sheet gets prepared, the same sort of language and points can then be on the screen as a
Right.
reinforcing slide.
All right. Item 2, report on MIPA and Cape Cod Commission DRI schedule, hearing, comment period. Jerry?
For reasons that are understandable but not acceptable, the MIPA public notice will be on December 4th. They didn't publish it in November, so it's going to be public notice in the MIPA Monitor on December 4th. The comment period ends on 1/3, January 3rd. In other words, all comments are due to them by January 3rd. The environmental certificate from the secretary is due January 10th, and I think he's pretty good, or the secretary's office is pretty good at issuing that certificate when it's due. The tentative plans, because the Cape Cod Commission is trying to juggle some other hearings, maybe to have the Cape Cod Commission joint MIPA hearing on December 4th,
No.
the same day it becomes public.
Yeah.
The same
They-
day.
And I
Okay.
think it's just a matter of, they feel they can advertise in advance, but that's not official. I reserve the library in case it can be done. The next week, if we had it that week, would have to go to Gus Canty Center, and there's a lot of objection rising to the week of December 15th. I mean, after that, it'd be, so we're pushing, and I think Cape Cod Commission would like to try to have it that first week in December. There's been plenty of time, it's been out there, people have probably had it too long. They might forget about it.
All right. That's it.
And then I followed up because, and it's right on the Cape Cod Commission's website, we will have a DRI process that begins after the environmental certificate is issued. We will have to submit an application, and I got a copy of one that was submitted for Chatham. It looks like it's a fairly straightforward document.
Yeah, I have news.
I just asked for what was submitted. The process may be a little bit more complicated.
Right.
What we submit, it sounds like it's a simple application. It'd be the CWMP final EIR we've already submitted,
Right.
and then the secretary certificate. And then the secretary certificate would have Cape Cod Commission's concerns. So that's when you really start negotiating, because they're at that time become a regulatory agency that we need to deal with.
Right. All of our conversations with the commission have been that they want to be supportive.
Yes.
They do not want to be an impediment to the time frame, and we're going to hold them to that.
Yes.
And just for the home audience, DRI stands for Development of Regional Impact, and normally the kind of construction projects we're talking about would trigger their thresholds, and so that's why it's part of the process.
Any other questions or comments on the?
It's on our website now. It's been on,
The final
yes, for a while now.
month.
Yeah.
Okay. Report on Bourne's Pond fishing platform. For the benefit of the Falmouth Enterprise, this is your story tonight.
Not that he's trying to write it, but I think it was Eric or someone else that brought up that I think it's through fishing licenses the state can help enhance boating and fishing. So we approached them on the availability of accessing those funds. And make a long story short, it seems that the easiest way would to have a separate agreement, grant request coming from the town, probably through the harbor master, supported by us, and we'll have the platform would be on the estuary side of the Bourne's Pond Bridge, and it would be on each side of the bridge. So the platform, there'd be 2 platforms, it'd have to be handicap accessible. I don't think they'd be relatively large, but it's, we got a sketch actually from,
Beta?
no, we got a sketch from Beta, but then we even got a better sketch from Fish and Game of how they thought it could be done. So it's basically in the hands of the harbor master now, and probably us to help tweak it along. And the way it's supposed to be, this would be no charge to us. It was getting complicated if we try to fold it into our project.
Yeah.
How do we fund it, and how do we construct it, even though the state may give us money? They told us they would not pay for any design, no matter how small that might be. So this seemed like it was the easiest thing to do, separate process. And that's what we're proceeding with.
Great. Sia was there when we met out on site, and they have a few requirements. They like a couple of parking spaces
Yes.
set aside for fishermen, at least one or more of which has to be handicapped, which doesn't mean it has to be paved, but it has to be hard pack enough that you can operate it in a handicap fashion on it. There's the prospect of some lighting is part of the package, but the key element here for the nationwide TV audience and for the enterprise is that this is something the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through this fishing license money, is going to pay for.
It's a win-win.
And there are going to be 2
And there's going to be 2.
platforms.
Yeah, actually, what's the name? Walker proposed this at our meeting in.
Oh, from Steamship Authority.
Yeah, it was his idea, and he's been pushing it very hard, so he should get some credit for this.
Just wasn't completely clear. There's going to be a fishing platform on both sides, or
Yes,
Both sides of the stream.
of the bridge.
Estuary side of the bridge.
on the estuary side of the bridge?
Right.
So
Both
Yeah.
ends.
Oh, I
If you
see.
go
East and
over
west.
Bourne's, if you go
Yeah.
over the Bourne's, there's already sort of jetties and riprap right there. The idea is to, when the bridge is expanded as part of the inlet widening, to make those areas more formal fishing platform
Oh, I see.
areas. And it's
Oh.
really just to straighten out, straightening out the rocks and making it easy to access and handicapped accessible, and having crosswalks from across the street where the parking lot is. But it's really to
So
enhance.
it's not part of the bridge, actually. It's a
No.
separate.
Part of
Right.
the abutments, the
Right,
stone
right,
abutments.
yeah.
It's the
okay.
abutments.
Yeah, right, abutments. Okay.
Yeah.
And Concom didn't seem terribly concerned. I mean, we have to disrupt that anyways
Right,
for the abutment, so it should be able to be coordinated.
right. Yeah, Carl Walker, that was his name, Carl Walker,
Carl Walker,
who
right.
proposed this originally, and, yeah. No, it's a win-win.
And the harbor master's supportive of it. They
Yeah.
think it's a great idea to increase access for fishing there.
And it's on the north side, which is where the fish are.
Yes. Very important when you're fishing.
Right.
My grandson and his girlfriend caught 3 big fish there in a few minutes.
All right.
Good.
Really?
Overnight last night.
Oh,
Nice.
Neat. Okay, next item, discussion of shellfish demonstration project. We have had distributed to us the hard copy of the final Woods Hole Group report. See, you want to kind of summarize what?
Sure.
What's
At
in
our
here?
last meeting, we had distributed the individual reports from Woods Hole Group. They did the shellfish stock assessment. They did a Little Pond environmental review. They did a number of separate tech memos and during the process where we were deciding on how many shellfish and where to put them. And so they finalized those reports and we approved them. You approved them at the last meeting. And so this is just a hard copy and a compendium of all of those reports in one
document.
printed out document.
Great.
Great.
It's kind of the final work product from that project
Okay.
from Woods Hole Group.
I think we need, according to my minutes here, or my agenda here, we need to vote on accepting the report.
Did we already
You accepted them as individual, the committee
Okay.
accepted them as
Okay,
individuals.
so
but
we don't
this-
need to do it again.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay, fine. Any further discussion on the report or on the current status of the demonstration project?
Could we have a status report on the shellfish? What's in the pond and also
Yeah.
what's in the upwellers?
Sure. If you don't, do you want me to? Yep. So there are basically no shellfish in the upwellers. They've been moved to Falmouth Harbor. So Falmouth Harbor has about 1 million small oysters that were the second batch. They started out at closer to the entrance to Falmouth Harbor, and now they're up towards the top of the head, the head of the harbor, to try and keep the salinity low so they can continue to grow healthily. There are oysters from the first batch, the 1 million or so, 1.25 million, in Little Pond, and they are growing extraordinarily well. I mean, they are just terrific. They grew really, really well. And we are in the process of getting approval from DMF for the relay areas. So Chuck Martinson and I drew out where they will be, where there will be closures, and DMF has to approve this too. But the idea is we're closing off areas. Half of them are recreational, so family areas, and half are commercial and recreational areas. And the shellfish that are in Little Pond will be relayed out, the largest of that batch, that Little Pond batch, will be relayed into closed areas and depurated for its 3 months plus a spawning season. And that'll be starting in December. And so by the next shellfish opening, those areas will be open to recreational and commercial shellfishing.
That's in the spring?
And there are different dates. I think October 1st is actually when the shellfish season opens.
Oh, October 2014?
Yes,
Okay.
a year from now.
Okay, so they'll be closed until then?
Yes, they need to be closed for that 3 months plus the spawning season for depurating, and spawning usually happens when the water gets warm in the spring.
Okay.
And then the shellfish season opens officially
Okay.
in October. And there are a couple of different dates for different areas, so
Right.
depending on which areas are
Right.
actually finally approved for that.
Right.
We're also going to take the smallest seed that are in Little Pond and do something called pitting, which is to put them in a walk-in on land, because they're
Freezer.
freezer.
Well,
Well,
cooler.
refrigerator, yeah.
Refrigerator.
Not a freezer.
right.
Hopefully not a freezer. So, and so what we're doing right now is that with the Little Pond batch, the batch that is to be kept in the water over winter, that will be that first batch for next year per our graduated plant, are the ones that are now in Falmouth Harbor, and they are slated to be moved. Chuck's thinking in the next couple of weeks to move them over to Little Pond. So all is well with the shellfish.
So, just one thing, you said 3 months, the planning guidelines are 6 months, but it was changed to 3 months?
The planning guidelines, according to the website of DMF, is 3 months, 90 days, 90 days plus a spawn.
Right, okay, no, that's fine.
So that's what it is.
That's been, okay, that was changed, which is a good thing, we were arguing for, they had it 1 year originally, and then we,
Yeah, so
a
that's,
number of people
Okay.
sent in notes on that.
Good.
But none of this year's batch will be, the first batch will be kept in Little Pond on the bottom in
they're
bags?
too big.
They're too big for
They're
that
too,
now.
they have grown
So
so
fast.
wonderfully that they are approaching 2 inches. And it is in everybody's best interest to have them go out. And because we have very healthy second batch to go in, that can go in,
Right.
that seems like the best way to
Okay.
go about. But
Yeah.
the small ones, as I said, the smaller ones that are in Little Pond and
Yeah, we'll
right
see.
now, we'll pit those,
those,
and those
yeah.
will go back into Little Pond.
So the
Yeah.
people who are interested in shellfishing next fall will have
How to get a license.
full-grown oysters, 1.25 million of them, complements of this program, are going to be
Right,
in these different estuaries.
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was going to say, Matt,
Just a
yeah.
question about that, how are they gonna harvest them? They just gonna put them on the floor of,
I mean, how are they
Little
going to
pond?
how are they going to plant them?
yeah, they just gonna leave them in the sediment, in the mud, on the floor?
We are not in where? In the
In Little
real?
Pond?
No, they're in
Oh.
bags. They'll stay in bags.
Okay, so how, in next October, a year from now, how are they gonna harvest them? How are we gonna let
Well, they're
shellfish?
gonna-
How do you make it a sport, so that the first people, commercial or recreational, don't simply follow 3 feet behind the people putting them down?
It's not gonna happen a little.
No.
No,
I- They're mixing apples and oranges.
Yeah, there are two
Well,
things.
that, yeah, I don't
two different
understand.
things
I
going
missed
on.
the last
All
minute.
right, so there's a batch in Little Pond right now,
Yeah,
and they are going to be taken out of Little
Okay,
Pond
and then
and put into
depurate.
relay areas, in other, the sites haven't been determined yet, but they're in other estuaries that are commercial shellfishing areas and recreational shellfishing areas.
and clean.
And totally clean
Okay.
and allowable for shellfishing right now. I mean, part of the
But
concern was,
even if you put oysters in sediment in clean estuaries, it's not good for them. I mean, they.
we're putting them in sand. I mean, we took a
You're gonna
long
put them in
time to
sand.
pick the areas and which sections of the areas, and we had Matt Weeks giving us some recommendations, and Chuck, and we actually went out there and hip waders and
I was gonna vote for Mashpee's method, which is they put them in trays and they just drag them out every day, and people come and pick them. Oysters, they push them back in.
and I'd get a license if it were like that.
That's not very sporting. Steve.
No, we're
You don't even have to
broadcasting.
get wet.
The great thing is that the Department of Marine and Environmental Services is already gearing up to do this. They do this with cohogs and other shellfish, and they have their own oysters. So we're sort of, they have a system for relaying out shellfish that they've been growing in upwellers, and so they've got sort of a process for doing this that makes it right. You want to have it be a large enough area that you haven't concentrated them, but a small enough area that you can close off without impacting negatively the other open shellfishing areas.
Yeah, but normally oysters like a hard surface to attach themselves to. Even sand is kind of, so they're not going to survive. I mean, they're just,
No,
if they're not picked.
no, this is
they're
a
not-
standard practice in Katuitt. They grow right on the bottom in sand, and in.
And what happens
and-
if they're not harvested?
They get bigger.
They get bigger. They harvest them. I mean, it's a business, right?
Well,
So-
and just as an
Also in West
example,
Bay,
they did this with their oysters last year. So they had the seed and it grew to about 2 inches, and then they put them in one of the ponds, and we checked them, and they were amazing, right in the sand.
They actually grew to, in 1 year, they grew up to cocktail size, to 3 inches.
Oh.
Yes.
because these are such wonderful environments for oysters, as it turns out. There's so much nutrient. We know there's a lot of nutrition there.
That's why
So
we're here.
but one other thing, and I'm not sure about which of these estuaries are conditionally closed seasonally, some of them, because of coliform. So they're only open like in the winter. And some are closed in the summer. So they may be just closed anyway for the summer, depending on which ones are picked. And-
All of them are going to, these are not going to be open. They are going to open October 1st and then they close. And
Right, no, I mean, the whole estuary will be closed?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's-
yeah.
that's
They're in
how-
areas that are
right.
closed anywhere because of coliform in the summer.
So we'll be cleaning up other estuaries
Yeah,
Yes.
a little bit.
in addition to
Like
the,
two-
to the,
two-
to the thing.
Sort of
But-
two bites of the apple here. We get to
Well,
do
well,
a little
that's,
part and the
yeah,
other.
yeah. And I don't know if it's part of this discussion item, but I went to the, and Wynn was there as well, I went to the technical group, the Cape Cod Commission's technical group, and now this is being lauded, not just this, but also like Oyster Reefs, that in Wellfleet is a strategy to quickly remediate the problems in the estuaries. It's not their recommendation yet. This is really something they're considering, but they see it as an immediate kind of intervention that can make a big difference very quickly. And so, or should make a big difference very quickly. So it's being now rising in the minds of different folks. These and other things that can do have quick impacts. And so a lot of it then is leading to, they've got these decision or this process, and Scott Horsley gave a presentation showing, going like take the low-hanging fruit and then move up the tree, so to speak. But basically, so it's becoming more and more now of an option on how to get at this. So this information we'll be getting. I don't know, when is the data going to be available for the whole season? Do we know from SMAS?
The report is due, I want to say November 30th, the draft, and then the final right after the first of the year. Might be 2 weeks later than that.
Right, whenever, yeah.
I think it might be December. But, the sort of end of the year, because we wanted to have the final report available for January, because we want to get back to the Conservation Commission with our results
Right.
as soon as, really right after the first of the year, so we can start planning for next year.
But yeah, and if I, just one last thing, I can't say enough about how the community has rallied around this and the town departments. I mean, Steve, for one, he's one of Steve Fassett from the Finance Committee, has been a really very dedicated, but a lot of folks have become dedicated, and it's, the department, Marine Environmental Services Department, everyone has been on top of it, and the town manager has been, he's visited, been there for several occasions, as well as DMF and a lot of others. We've gotten a lot of support, and as we all know, it was pretty dicey at the beginning, including the Conservation Commission really taking this on and addressing it. So it's been a very nice experience, I think, for the town as well as for the neighbors, who have been very much supportive, and they are very pleased to see and to be involved in it as well, and saying, this is progress, they're saying, this is what we need to see. So I think it's been a very nice response by the town, by the departments, by the committees, and so it's been a real, very nice program. And I assume.
Kudos to everyone who made it happen, and that would include you and you and you and
Well, I think,
quite a few people who aren't in the room. So yes, thank
right,
you all.
Right, but it's, yeah. So anyway, but if anyone wants to go see who hasn't seen it in the committee at least, the system there, some have, that they're still in the water, as he has said, for a bit longer, another month at least, and they'll be moved around then, so you can get an idea. Seeing the cormorants around them and all this. It's really funny seeing, yeah. Wishful cormorants.
Right, exactly.
Thwarted cormorants.
Right. Ducks, everything. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Okay, well, speaking of oysters, we have a report on Oyster Pond CWMP progress. Steve, you've been meeting with the consultant on that?
They're proceeding carefully. As I think was clear from the last meeting, the needs assessment part of the CWMP has been finished. They are now editing to reflect the comments received from the public at the previous meeting. And they're moving along to prepare the alternative approaches, which should be ready sometime in June of 2014.
Terrific. So we can have a meeting with that neighborhood next summer.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
that's
So
good.
Yeah. Yeah, the input from the neighborhood has been extremely useful.
Very useful, and will definitely be incorporated.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions about that project? Report on site visit to Brian Bragg & Smith's Aquagen system. This may be sort of a point-counterpoint kind of thing, but Wayne, why don't you present the points?
You and I and Ron visited this. It's basically, and it's in West Yarmouth. It is a greenhouse, fairly large-sized greenhouse, with horizontal pipes in rows like this, up like this. Very, very long pipe, which is sort of folded back on itself like this. And you put prepared algae in at one end, and then you prepare it with algae at one end and with nutrient at one end. And at this point, they have only pure nutrients. They just put nutrients in for them. And the algae, within 30 minutes, it goes through the pipes or so. Within 30 minutes, the algae have used up most of the nutrients, and at the other end, they're harvested, dried, and turned into something that they're sending at present. They're sending it to Minnesota to a company that makes plastic items out of them, biodegradable plastic items. For example, biodegradable fishing lures. So you throw a fishing lure and it gets lost. It's biodegraded in a couple of years. That's what it's being used for at the moment. And the hope is that it uses very little power. The operation itself uses very little power. The pump is a half-horsepower electric motor which pumps the water around the clock. And there are LEDs along the pipes. He says that the whole facility, which treats between 15,000 and 25,000 gallons of water a day, depending on various factors. I don't know what it depends on exactly, but it treats that amount of water per day with about 1.5 kilowatts of electricity. So it's relatively low usage of electricity. Just to give an idea of the scale, 15 to 25,000 gallons would be sufficient to process wastewater of somewhere, actually I got a correction on this, somewhere between 40 and 75 homes with an average discharge of 200 gallons a day. Somewhere in that range. You could treat the wastewater from that many homes. So it would be, say, it could be a small cluster system to treat the wastewater. The idea would be to ship wastewater to them from septic tanks. This is one of the ideas. One of the ideas they have is to ship wastewater to them from septic tanks. Just take the liquid water from the middle of the septic tank and ship it through a step system or a steg system, and then process it there into algae, into harvestable algae. And there were three proposed systems of acquiring the wastewater. One was that, to collect the wastewater from individual homes. One was to attach the system to the effluent from a municipal wastewater facility. And if you remember correctly, the Little Pond area has 290,000 gallons a day. Isn't that about right?
260.
260,000. So it would take 10 or 15 of these facilities to treat all of that wastewater. He didn't give an idea how much it costed. There was no attached cost to all of this, to putting it together. But that's the scale in which we're talking about.
What's the footprint of one?
The footprint, I would guess that it is a greenhouse that may be twice as large as this room, or not quite that much. Narrower than this room and longer.
I square feet?
We didn't get that figure. I should get that figure. It's just full of these pipes with some auxiliary machinery at one end and auxiliary machinery at the other end. And they have a neat system for cleaning it. The pipes, algae will leave stuff behind in the pipes. There's a neat system for cleaning it where they put what they call a pig in one end of the pipe and it runs through it. The pig is just a little scrubber, a little round thing with scrubbies on the outside, and it goes through the pipe scrubbing as it goes. And then they put it in at one end, take it out at the other, and then when they need to, they put it in again at one end and take it out at the other. So it's a neat little thing. It's really neat. And it operates, obviously works. They actually are getting material out of it. They're sending it and they're actually selling it to somebody in Minnesota who wants the stuff and who processes it into something. So it's a feasible operation, but we both, Ron and I had some questions about scalability, about using wastewater instead of this pure stuff that they use. In other words, when you put wastewater in, you have all sorts of stuff in the wastewater. Will that provide problems for the plant? And I let you take it over from now because you had a number of comments that were very useful, I thought.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn, through
Sure,
the
go.
chair. I think that, this has been an idea that's been used since the 1960s, looking at microalgae for cleaning up wastewater, or maybe even earlier, but anyway, this is, as concerted research has been done on it. So, it basically, microalgae will grow, as we know in our estuaries. It grows, if there are nutrients available, it will grow. Issues that come in about it, one thing about this system though, it's been running since April. So what it means is that it's been running during the longest day period, light period of the year.
Yeah.
So that's one element that they'll now learn about the winter operation. And I've run microalgae systems in Falmouth through the winter, and there's a change, okay? Temperature, other things happen that are there. And so it's a different kind of thing where your days are darker than they're lighter. And so there could be an issue about lighting in that way. But what they're doing seems, interesting, and as far as the element goes. And the thing is that they also have them in this case on a level platform and there's one row behind another. So then as the sun comes down, it's going to the ones behind would be shaded. So so even more than just shorter days, there'll be more shading going on that can affect the growth rate. So there are factors with temperatures and things like this, but I think the main thing that Wynn mentioned is that they're giving them a kind of a prescribed nutrient source.
A liquid diet.
A liquid diet, but
Carefully
I don't know
balanced.
how high tech, and they're basically growing Ctenodesmus, microalgae, which they try to maintain as more or less a monoculture. It's oftentimes seen in like 4 cells together, and they're different species, but they've got those, and apparently they're bigger and easier to pull out. Now, whether they can easily maintain that, or what may happen if you start getting other microcystis and other smaller ones, and that may not be as easy to harvest. But these are things that are working. And I went online to try and find an example where they're running on wastewater, and I couldn't find anything. But maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. But there's a lot of experience with wastewater microalgae. But as Jerry can attest, I'm sure, you don't see too many of those systems around anywhere. I mean, at the University of California, Berkeley, they did that in the 60s. Oswald and Benneman and a lot of the people were very active with this type of thing, but not in these high-tech tubes, but more in tanks that were in the ground. So this is there's a whole literature base on this. So it's an element that sort of focuses on one species. So therefore it's a little bit more fragile in a way, or more delicate in a way compared to other systems like the floating raft systems and different things that are highly diversified. You've got bacterial groups, you've got the algae, you've got macrophytes, you've got different things that may be chiming in when the conditions are not best for one. There'll be kind of a redundancy, kind of results in stability to a degree, and that kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes with this, and I think the economics would be the question. But he was quite anxious to try and find a place where he could plug sewage into it, and he hasn't got a permit for that right at this point, and trying to work that out. So it's really a feasibility test under very special conditions.
I'd like to follow up with one more
Yeah.
comment about the economics of it.
Yeah.
It's clear that, from what you said, it's clear that they've not been able to make it work as a means of growing algae to get fuel out of and make money at it.
Right.
But if you add into that you're taking something from, that you have, the infrastructure is also taking something that you don't want and getting rid of it, that might tip it, that might tip the balance possibly, where you have two or three things going on at one time.
But they're not going the energy route. They're going the plastic cutlery spoons and stuff like this. So it's a different. So that could be more. The economics of that could be better than trying to go to energy, because
That's the other thing. If they have enough market for that, then they,
the issue with energy has been that it takes more energy to get the energy than you actually get from the algae. Okay,
Exactly.
I think it's the second law of thermodynamics. It
Right.
factors in here somehow.
Always.
But actually, there's a group, apparently I heard, I can't verify this, this is just word of mouth, at MIT that are looking at genetic engineering of chlorophyll, and trying so that it can utilize more wavelengths of light than the limited ones. So therefore, it might be something that would work out. But if you let this beast go in the environment, who knows? But but the thing is that they're looking at. So there are some folks that are looking at that, because there's just a few wavelengths of light of the full spectrum that are useful for photosynthesis. So,
Any indication of how sensitive it might be to household chemicals or chlorine or something like that?
Brian mentioned that he thought that letting algae grow these things and so forth would take a lot of those household chemicals out. In other words, they would do away with some of them or reduce them. But they haven't studied that.
I think a lot of it, like chlorine, might be in the delivery system. It may react with a lot of different organic particles and different things that are in there, that by the time it got there, it might, some things, not all, but some things might work out.
Steve?
Has he thought of the obvious thing of making a little one that would fit at George Hoyfelter's test facility?
That was going to be my question. I left before you got into the question and answer question, but George has a facility where he can provide the effluent stream this fellow needs, and why he isn't there was not made clear to me.
Yeah.
They both know George.
Well, that's
So
nice.
all we
but
need
why
to do
can't
is
he-
suggest to them that they go talk with him,
Well, he claims to have talked with him, but he isn't locating out
He's-
there.
Yeah.
It costs, George has a budget, it costs people money to demonstrate up
But he
there.
says he has the money.
Yeah.
He said he had the money.
And it's, I guess, I really think it's a demonstration project that George should follow up on, because there's thousands of questions. Proof of concept has a long way to go. What happens to a lot of the stuff?
Well, the ball is in his court to say why he isn't
Yeah.
at George's
Yeah, I mean,
facility.
I don't know if the intent was for this committee to try to pick up on another demonstration project.
It might have been his intent. but,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that was the kind of the dog that didn't bark here. Why? I mean, he was talking about getting his effluent from a restaurant down the street, and he was hoping that DEP would give him a permit for them to send their effluent to him. And I said, this is not going to work. Go to the place where the effluent is available, like George's Test Center. Somehow that answer didn't resonate.
What he needs to do is go to Baja.
Where they have plenty of energy all year.
Plenty of sunlight and warm.
Well,
Like
there's
you don't have
that.
hurricanes coming in, hitting on you like this year.
This is a batch process?
No,
It's a
continuous.
continuous process.
He feeds it, though.
He feeds it,
Yeah, he's feeding this
And then you have a
basically algae
filter
food.
at the end.
There's he has some kind of a filter that takes out the algae and dries them at the end. And the water, he says, is almost drinkable, he claims.
Wastewater is almost drinkable.
Yeah, right.
Almost.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Any
So
other
it's sort of like, it's a treatment for wastewater is what it is, you know,
Any other questions or comments on this? Yes.
He's trying to sell it as a treatment for wastewater, but he has a long way to go to prove that. I mean, all of this could be very interesting in how much he's using solar and so on, but he hasn't gotten to the fundamental point that we're interested in, which is what do you do with wastewater? So there has to be more to the story about why he's not using the steady stream of wastewater from at the test plant, because they do both proprietary testing there and they do non-proprietary projects as well.
I can report that the Cape Cod Commission is aware of them and has their picture of their facility as one of the new things they're looking at.
Well,
So maybe
it's fine.
maybe let the Cape Cod Commission sort it out with them.
They look
Great.
at many things.
Yeah, they do.
Any other comments or questions on the Aquagen system? All right. Virginia, report on, sorry.
I'd just like
Yeah.
to thank him very much for
Yes.
for the, I'm telling, you know, that
Yeah.
they've
Brian's an
publicly.
engaging guy, and
Yeah.
he's been active and interested in this field for a long time, and more power to him. I hope he finds something that works.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Barnstable County Test Center Septic System Research Project, horizontal soil systems.
Yes, this is a good news story. The committee may remember way back in the winter, we made up a list of things that we asked the Cape Cod Commission to do, one of which was to help fund some sort of research project. At the time, were talking about permeable reactive barriers. And how that has evolved is that they are going to fund over a 3-year period $150,000 for George Heufelder to test 5 different non-proprietary treatments that would occur on site. They would occur on lots, and they'd be using existing septic systems. The aim is to reduce nitrogen and probably phosphorus. He's aiming for 80 to 90% removal. That's what he's looking at. He's currently in the design phase, and there will be an installation in the spring. He hasn't chosen the exact configuration yet, but it seemed timely for the committee to know that the request we made of the commission did ultimately go through, and there is an agreement between the Department of Environmental Health and, in this case, the test center and the commission. The interesting thing about this, he calls them reactive material layering. And so we get away from terms that have been used for other things in other places. So reactive material layering. And he's looking at very shallow layers within 6 inches of the surface. Normally you think about septic systems, they're 4 feet down below, they're down in sand. He's looking at much shallower ways of treating the effluent after it has gone through the septic tank, and so we're looking at the distribution piece. That's it in a nutshell. And I said he was looking at up to 5 different systems of things that he has found that are not proprietary and that need proof of concept. And because his plant, his center is set up in such a way, he can develop data that is credible. And because it's a 3-year period, that number keeps coming up. That's the kind of data that DEP wants to see to decide whether something looks promising. So.
Great. Steve?
When Wynn and I visited George's facility, which may have been 3 years ago now, 2 years ago?
Wow.
I've visited more recently than that.
But anyway.
No, but the first, when you and I were there
Right,
together,
yes.
he was already testing something like that, at least one system, which is,
Could very possibly be.
which is a good thing. I mean,
Yes,
he
right.
has preliminary data.
Yes, he's testing, there's no question he's testing 6 proprietary systems. I was there within the last 3 months. I don't remember. This is going to be, this is certainly a new flavor of the things that he's doing there. And it has to do with the shallowness of it, and then the kind of material through which the wastewater will pass.
And so would you say that these are in the category of individual denitrifying systems?
I think if you were to use a general term, that would probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday at the meeting, at the Mashpee, Falmouth Mashpee.
Watershed meeting?
Watershed meeting, they discussed, at some length they discussed this, and they said the great advantage of it, if it works, is that it may be possible not to have a regular septic system, but to use this as the septic system. So you don't have to install a deep septic system at all.
Yep.
That's what they were thinking is the possibility. And
Clearly, it would be a change from Title V.
yes.
Title
that's
V always figures you go deep.
right. That's right.
So the regulations would have to change, and that requires a mindset change. So there's got to be data support that it actually has an environmental benefit that is sustainable.
Yes.
And that's what DEP always asks you. Well, maybe it works this year, but will it work for 5 years or 15?
Right, right.
Just one other thing, the systems that I saw at his facility were this shallow type, and they were like lawns that were growing, and it was everything was right at the surface basically. But what he said that was interesting is that it isn't just nitrogen and phosphorus and nutrients, but also if there are two different types. One's an aerobic system, and the aerobic system breaks down some pharmaceuticals and some other things, and sort of some of these compounds that are a problem. It actually breaks them down. And then there are anaerobic systems that break down other types of things.
Sure.
So it's whether you can actually put the two together in a way that would be able to somehow sequencing the flow, so that you're not only moving the nutrients to growth of a lawn, I think is what he was, what I saw essentially.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mowing involved though. But
Well,
it's, yeah.
And there are certain
Yeah.
space requirements.
Right, right.
And so
But no fertilizing.
right,
No fertilizer.
right.
You got your fertilizer
Right.
Yeah, right.
there, yeah.
It's beautiful green lawn. So yeah, so there's a possibility.
So you have to think ultimately down the road, we're trying to solve the nitrogen problem throughout the town, and we have lots of differing sizes. And we know that in Little Pond, we're dealing, and Falmouth Heights, we're dealing with very small lots. But ultimately, it's the whole watershed that contributes to the problems in the estuaries. And so if we can find on-site solutions that get a greater amount of nitrogen removal down the road, that becomes the answer to the other parts of town that we still have to think about.
Is he thinking of areas comparable to Title V leaching fields? Or 10 times as big?
No details at this point.
No.
I can't give you that kind of
I
detail.
thought it was just a few hundred square feet. at most, yeah.
My sense is it's smaller rather than larger, but who knows?
Who knows? Matt?
Is this something that would replace the leach field?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
it might be, yes, it might be a better leach field, let's call it that.
It's a soil absorption system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So this could be the answer to gray water problems or
Yes.
residual gray water after
Yes, it could.
eco toilets
Yes, it could.
that's sure,
in a smaller.
in a smaller area. Yeah.
Especially when they
Yeah.
pointed out yesterday, especially when you're doing new construction so that you don't have to
Right,
retrofit things.
Right.
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 So, I'm sure we'll hear something about a year from now.
Good.
Very good.
Report from members and staff.
Just,
Jerry.
I don't think, if we have said a lot about the 208 study that's going on and the various interpretations, one of the things that they're doing is preparing what I call a very broad, high-level fact sheet to inform citizens of what potentially is available. I guess I would take exception that they're touting any one as being better than the other. They're saying, this is a Bible of things. Each community can work itself through. And I think they're getting there to make a reasonable estimate of what you can start with and where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think when those fact sheets are ready, it'd be a good starting point for people that
Yes.
either interest in some products or some type of alternatives or are not. And I think one of the things Ron was bringing up, and I think they brought it up in our meeting, was that some of the watersheds, especially on western side of Falmouth, are not as polluted as some of the ones we're dealing with here. And the concept was you could go in with lower technology type applications first to see if they achieve what you want to achieve, to necessarily avoid a more complicated TMDL. You know, you might put something in and it might take away enough nitrogen. But, you know, it's more, a lot of these things are more for areas where we haven't studied. But, you know, there might be something new. It's complicated, it is online, but I think in the next couple of months, you'll probably see more coming out on the 208 plan.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody read the Conservation Law Foundation
Yeah.
refiled its suit.
Oh, I didn't
There's
read that.
pros and cons on, I'll let Eric, if he wants to summarize it, of,
The
they
suit,
just refiled it because they think they made a procedural error.
well, if they had gone to trial, it was pretty clear they would have lost on the facts and they would have lost on the law. But they didn't even get to go to trial. They got thrown out on a lack of
Summary
standing.
judgment, yeah.
In that, in order to file a suit like that, it's not sufficient to just be an organization that wants to do good. You also have to be one that
Harm.
represents people who can have some demonstrated harm. And they neglected to include that part in their filing. So 3 years after they filed their suit, it was summarily dismissed for lack of standing. But not to be deterred, they have decided to file again, maybe this time with standing, with affidavits or whatever the
Iron
court
you are.
requires. And so they will go back to the same court and the same judge who I think they will find the same result. But it's not my money that they're spending. But I will say that it has not been a constructive effort or a resultful effort for them or for us. And I think we on Cape Cod are moving ahead in a positive and useful manner without their help. And I think good for us, and they can do what they want. And it's worth pointing out the Coalition for Buzzards Bay has not refiled the suit. They were co-plaintiffs the last time around. This time they are not. Matt?
I just want to change the subject a little bit.
Sure.
And it's interesting to hear what Jerry said, and I think Virginia, you were talking about it earlier. Seems like we're talking about least cost planning now.
Yes.
Let's start with the least cost methods of dealing with nitrogen, phosphorus pollution, and put them in place first and see if it will work. This is not unlike what happened to the electric industry going back to the 1980s, when utilities just wanted to build new generating facilities. And people finally said, hey, we can't afford to put up these new generating facilities. They just passed that cost on to the customers. Isn't there anything else you can do? Well, it turned out there was a lot they could have done, which was energy efficiency, energy conservation programs. Those became the least cost methods of providing new capacity for electric generation, and it actually replaces power plants. So it would be good to, it's good for me to see that happening here, because I think that's where I was hoping it would go.
I've attended now 2 of the technical meetings as an observer, and two of the watershed meetings for the Mashpee and Moquett Bay. And my impression is that I would like to support exactly what Jerry said, that they're developing, on the one hand, a whole set of sheets which contain public information about all of the different technologies that they're looking at. That's great, although some of the sheets need some changes, and they know that. They're working on they put it out in the public, they're asking for comments on it. I've already put some in, several other people have put some in. We hope to get relatively correct sheets of each one of them. And what else they're doing behind those sheets, however, I sense, if you remember 2 weeks ago when I presented my model, they're doing exactly what I was trying to do. They really are doing exactly what I was trying to do.
Good.
Behind them is a model which will allow you to use GIS information to look at any watershed or sub-watershed. You want to identify all of the particular places where you can do these things. It's not perfect yet. I mean, but I've talked with 2 or 3 of the people who are working on it, and they do know what they're doing. They're good people. They're asking questions. They're actually asking questions of people who know something, and they're listening when you talk with them if you know something about it. And they're friendly. And I'm very impressed with the work that they're doing to put this model together. What's it called?
What is two
MVP?
The MVP model.
But then there's another model that they just launched. There's an eco tool. They're still difficult for the average user to use.
Yes,
I
they
think
are.
that came out
Yes, they
at
are.
our meeting that
Yeah.
it's
Yes, they are.
downloaded, but they're getting there.
They're getting to the point where once you learn the rules, you would be able to use it, but it is difficult to use now. So I'm impressed, and I think that I think that certainly, speaking just from the eco toilets, which we've been working on, they're waiting for us to get the information. I talked to them and said, yeah, give us information that you have, correct the information that we don't have. We've been mainly looking at the literature. We don't know how things work. We're waiting for you. And anything else, look through those things that they print. Let's all look through them and see whether we can see from what we know where they're not quite up to speed yet on it, because they've got a lot of different things.
Ron?
And I think too that follow up on what Jerry said, that one of the things they're looking at is that if we have a particular estuary that has to have a certain amount removed, let's call that 100% of the nitrogen that needs to be removed. If you, the idea is that if quickly we could remove 20% of that, through shellfish or whatever it might be, that might bring the condition in the estuary to a point where you won't have fish kills, you may not have odors, but you still haven't reached the TMDL. You're still not in a position to do it, but it might very well basically arrest the degradation as well as kind of manage to an extent. And so the various things they're looking at in terms of low-hanging fruit is to try and get things into a condition that it's more socially acceptable as well as ecologically a pretty good condition, or trying to make it better. So you're cutting into that real part of the load that's really pushing it over the cliff. So I think that's part of it, and how far those things can go, we don't know. But they can. That's one of the ideas that they have on that. So I think that, and I agree with Wynn. I feel like that even our working group is moving very constructively, and I think that the technical group as well is really going at things aggressively, and it's they're raising good questions and bringing up all the practical experience as well as the technical knowledge is really at play. But there is this general move toward looking at this kind of a strategy that's very systematic and trying to understand how to get at this in a progressive way. So I think it's good. Yeah.
Virginia?
Just building on what Wynn and Ron have said, at the same time that they are being very systematic and both technical and systematic in developing options, they've also made it clear, at least at every meeting that I have been, that they are not developing the plan for this town or that town or any group of towns. That it has to follow the town process. So because a lot of people were worried that the commission was just sort of going to come in and take over. And I think they've been sensitive to that critique and have been quite clear in real words that they're not doing that. The one thing about the aquaculture, in Little Pond, we don't have moorings, so we don't have competing water uses, and we have yet to address that issue. Everything we're hearing says that particular tool is useful, But there are other dimensions to it that this committee hasn't grappled with yet.
And that's true of every one of these demonstration projects. Once we determine their utility, we have to determine their replicability
Right.
in our waters.
Yeah.
If
Well,
they
well,
turn
I-
out
yeah.
to not be
Right.
locatable anywhere except where we're doing them, it becomes less useful.
But I've spoken with the harbor master about this, and it's, the moorings are something, but it could be that they could be more consolidated in different areas, and therefore you can work out different approaches. So, and if we're looking at these things, I mean, if we were to, we don't know what scale, but at the most that I see is something like 10 to 15% of the area of the more impacted estuaries would be required for aquaculture if it were theoretically able to deal with all the problem. But if it were less than that, then that's, and some of this can just be done around the ring of the pond, you know, spaced. But this is, again, a good point. I mean, I think it's workable. That's the feeling that I've gotten. And it's just that we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, as we have with the whole thing to now. I mean, this is a big deal, just getting the little pond.
Right,
you know, let alone-
absolutely.
You know, so I think that we shouldn't necessarily be closing off things because of some, but again, we are the new stakeholder. The project idea, it would be the new entry, and so therefore you've got a lot of uses out there, and so you've got another factory coming in, and this has to be handled sensitively. And I think it's a lot of discussion among the stakeholders, as we did with Little Pond. You know, we started 2 years before we even put anything in the water, talking with the local groups and things. And so, and we actually, now we have a notice on the Falmouth Heights Mara Vista Improvement Association's website describing what happened. So it's already getting into the different, we're trying to make sure that the awareness keeps building on this.
Yeah, that's great.
So.
Any other, Ron?
I just want to take a different twist.
Jerry.
That what I had heard that on the watersheds that weren't as impaired, rather than needing 100% wastewater, and a lot of the ones in West Falmouth, if I remember the TMDL numbers are very marginal as to how much has to be improved. And to me, I think that's where we may get the biggest buck, because you don't need a big study. Just, you know, because if it's 100%, people are going to say you're going to do this against that. But when you get, I don't know if it's Worcester Harbor
25%
or some of these things by the neighborhood, Oyster
Worcester
Pond,
Harbor.
an aggressive nitrogen fertilizer program where the community is pushing it. Aquaculture, if that, and I'm not sure, maybe stormwater. This is when they were talking about some of the easily implemented low-hanging fruit that may not cost a lot of money, but were actually already at the fringes. And that could be what saves from going in and doing a cluster system or something.
Anyone who talks about easily implemented hasn't tried to implement anything.
What? It's trying to be positive.
This committee will attest to that. Any other reports from members and staff?
Well, speaking of easily implemented, right?
Okay.
I just wanted to announce that the Green Center and the Eco Toilet Center is having an informational meeting Wednesday, November 6th from 2 to 4. The president of one of the companies is going to be there talking about sort of a family of new products which are worthwhile. And in addition, it's going to be an opportunity to find out about all the current eco toilets that are being that are available. So it's not just focused on this one vendor. It's really going to be a look at all the technologies that are available. And I'm going to be there to promote the Eco Toilet Incentive Program. We still have room. So if anyone is interested, for our nationwide TV audience, if anyone is watching and would like an eco toilet, we still have $5,000 incentives plus the cost of your pump out to give away. So it would be great if anybody was thinking about eco toilets to come to that meeting.
Great.
Just for the audience, to let them know that I'm putting my money where my mouth is and not taking the incentive, but I'm going to put 3 urine diverting toilets in my house.
Good.
As part of the restoration after the fire that we had.
May I bring my wife over to see them?
Well, certainly, you can bring her over to use them.
Don't take pictures. I knew that was coming.
It's going to be a while. We accept all urine.
Okay.
Any other reports from members and staff before we
you have
move on?
done this.
We will be spending time on the minutes this week, unlike many weeks, but members and staff.
Maybe I'll do the update on the USGS report at this
Okay.
point. Is that
Sure, what?
Good.
Fine.
Because there's been a question about phosphorus and phosphorus attenuation, did a little digging, and apparently the U.S. Geological Survey back in 2003 published a report, and I sent it around to the committee, so you all have a copy of it, where they took soils from MMR, Joint Base Cape Cod, and they were glacial outwash soils, and they actually did soil column experiments. So we had gotten feedback through Ron from Dr. McBride and then Hersterberg, and both of them had said it would be good to have field.
The people when we met in West Falmouth, that was a particular request, wasn't it, of those folks to do that study, to do that test?
They wanted to know if it was possible to do the test.
They wanted to know if it was possible.
Right.
And so what we found was USGS has done this test. This test has been done, and it's been done on soils that are comparable to the soils that we have at Site 7. They're glacial outwash at MMR. They're basically coarse sand that's brown, and the brown is an iron oxide coating, which from the ecologic report are comparable, I would say the same soils as what we have in the West Falmouth glacial outwash part of the area. The thing that was very interesting is that they did these column experiments first by taking the soils and using the effluent from Mass Military to look at phosphorus binding sites. So they got a number for the phosphorus binding sites using actual wastewater. And then they had a control where they used groundwater that was uncontaminated from MMR. So the complexities of the chemistry was incorporated into their experiments. And they published a number in, I think it was Table 7, of 3,000 micromoles per liter. And when you do the calculation for the volume of soil that we have, what you find is over 1,000 years of binding sites if you have that kind of binding capacity that they derived experimentally. So the empirical number gives you over 1,000 years of binding sites. And that compared favorably with the other numbers that Hersterberg had provided for a different test, an oxalate extraction test. When you ran those numbers for the oxalate extraction, you got about 1,000 years as well. So both of those studies seem to be corroborating that there are many, many years of binding sites available in the soils.
Oh, thanks, Eric. You thought I'd have something to
Somehow
say.
I knew you might have something to say.
Thanks, Thea, for getting these reports and things. And what's interesting in this report is that a couple of things are that the maximum loading at from MMR, from Joint Base Cape Cod, years ago during the height of it was about 1,000 kilograms of phosphorus per year. And that is interesting with regard to the fact that the Site 7 would have about, based on 2.4 milligrams per liter, about 860 kilograms per year. The thing is that we have had an impact to Shumat Pond. And when I went through these figures, and I went back to Hersterberg with your data, yeah, and he made some, I think you came up with 960 years as your calculation, and he looked at it and he said, well, you should have been really using millimoles instead of milligrams per kilogram, but it was a relatively minor difference in terms of the results. So it was like 870 years versus whatever. But then I said, well, does that mean, I went back to him, I said, hey, does that mean we're okay? More or less, as far as you can tell. He said that these calculations, and I don't know how these were done here, but his sense of everything was that that there are a complex of factors that need to be looked at, that interfere with this and this kind of thing. Otherwise, how do we get from 1,000 years to 100 years with the ecologic report? I mean, all of a sudden there's an order of magnitude difference, right, in terms of the duration, because that's what they came up with. And that's how this type of testing, I think, and it may be different because even in the, as Sia pointed out, that the USGS report, the main focus there was on iron and not on, whereas in the case of West Falmouth, they were talking about aluminum. So I don't know if the soils are exactly the same. You know, there can be some variation. And then he went to the trouble. I don't know why well, it's great that he's doing these things, but he sent me this thing from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is a map for Barnstable County, and this is the section, disposal of wastewater by rapid infiltration and the suitability of the West Falmouth area. And where you see red, it says it's very limited as being a suitable area for wastewater, which might be part of the problem why our plant effluent was affecting West Falmouth Harbor. I don't know, but anyway, this was what criteria they measured this on, I don't know. But this is from this is a map that he sent. He said, well, you know, if you look at this whole swath here, particularly, which includes Site 7, Site 10, and others, but the red part, this is Route 28 coming down here. So and Crocker Pond is there. So anyway, this is hard to see. But so there was a question with that. And then he sent me some other things that I'm still trying to figure out, of charts and graphs and different things with regard to the uncertainty. And then he basically came back after I said, well, you know, from this calculation, which he said, you know, it's basically it's too simplistic. And I'm not sure, I haven't been able to digest all of this report yet from the USGS, and I'm still going through it, but there are some complicating factors there, and he still feels, he's still concerned about what we can anticipate. And the main thing I think here is that by doing the tests and getting the best set from there, if we can find a place to do it, that's another challenge. But to get it, then we'll be pretty certain to what degree there may need to be something done with the treatment at the plant, because there's ways of removing phosphorus if it becomes an issue. So so this was his assessment, and I'm waiting also to hear from him about the USGS report. He didn't have time to go through the whole thing in detail, but it is there. I think there still is a question in looking at this, and maybe we can talk with the folks from USGS and get their sense of these points that have been raised. But I think that there's still a question, according to them. They're the experts that I've been consulting with.
As we said in West Falmouth, you can always find an expert who thinks more study is needed.
No, well, no, I mean, but they have
You've
no
been very
interest.
good at doing
They have
that.
no interest in this because they're not doing. They won't be getting anything to do the study. We're trying to find a way to get something done that
Right.
will that would benefit the town and give people peace of mind. Nothing is certain, as you pointed out, Eric. There's always uncertainty.
Nothing but death and taxes. And
Well, yeah, and yeah, unless you're in anyway, some folks are able to find ways not to pay taxes. But anyway, but I think that it would still be good, I think, to help with the the folks in West Falmouth's concern, and to try and get this done so that we're just sort of saying, okay, we've gone the distance. Here's the result, and we're fine with that. So.
Virginia,
I'm just going to
Claire?
comment on the geology and the map that of the soils there, because that's at a scale that is is quite large. We have the actual soil corings for two different locations. One where the discharge is going to take place, and then the second one well downstream, but not yet at Crocker Pond. And both of those were sand all the way down.
Right.
And so there are outwash soils there, and that's evident from these soil corings. I ran into Robert Oldale, who is a former U.S. Geological Survey who did the geology of Cape Cod in the post office, and he started asking me questions, and he confirmed that there are outwash soils in the West Falmouth area. So So it's true that in general there are moraine soils there, but that picture is at too gross a scale. We're dealing with specifics, and it is very clear we're dealing with outwash. So I want to make that point very clear. The second is that there's no question that the soils at MMR are absolutely outwash. And the difference in the amount of time and binding sites, the ecologic report was extremely conservative. The U.S. Geological Survey did the actual tests. The ecologic looked at binding sites only for aluminum. They didn't put in the iron. Whereas when the tests were done by the USGS, they had used all the bonding sites because they used in the actual soil columns. So all the things that you've just raised have answers, and they all point to the fact that we do not have a problem with phosphorus. And we've spent a long time talking about this.
Well, that's your opinion, which is very nice. But it really, that's one opinion.
Oh, you got another opinion? Let's hear it.
As a card-carrying scientist, I mean, I think we've beat this thing to death. And I think that we have a very good idea of what to expect there. And even if there were some degree of uncertainty, we know that there are things that if we did run into a problem, there are things that we can do at the treatment plant which would mitigate them. So at this stage, I would be absolutely comfortable that this is not an issue any longer.
Okay.
Well, there are lots of different scientists in the world.
As we know.
And there are soil scientists
we-
who actually looked at this.
We're going to hear from all of them.
Yeah, right.
I just want to reiterate that the two scientists mentioned that we needed to have some empirical data. We actually have the data. And one of the data points was the oxalate extraction, which is a more simplistic. So his comments about that were about the oxalate test.
Right.
However, the USGS is the soil column experiment that McBride said was definitive and would mitigate the risk, and Hersterberg said the same thing. And what we have is a paper that documents the methodology, the results, the types of soils. So that test has been done for us definitively. And that's why I brought it up, because I was so excited that we actually have the field evidence that is important to validate the machinations of all the research we've done. So I just wanted to make it clear that there were the two tests, and the soil test is the one that everybody thought was important, and we actually have done it, or it has actually been done.
I just think
Final rebuttal.
Yeah,
and then
just
let's
no, it's
move
not a
on.
rebuttal exactly, because I think it's good. I mean, what Sia said is right. I mean, there is a lot here. The bottom line, though, it comes out in a way, is that we have an impacted pond, a Schumann pond, and it was like the maximum phosphorus during several years was 1,000 kilograms of phosphorus per year that was discharged there. We have 860 kilograms.
We don't.
Your math
It's
is wrong there.
375 kilograms a
Right.
year. That's what the maximum amount is. That's 2.5 milligrams per liter times 260,000 gallons converted into liters. It's 375 kilograms. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We'll go over the chart. I've done this 3 times because just to be sure, I've done the calculation, because you have to multiply
All right, all right. Well,
so
we're
many
not gonna
days
do
in
it
the year.
tonight, so-
Anyway,
I can show-
yeah,
We'll
but
trade
I thi-
spreadsheets.
It's not
Trade
exactly a
spreadsheets,
rebuttal.
right.
I just think let's just
Yeah.
do the test. It's not a big deal.
All right. Any other reports from members and staff?
I passed around
Yes.
this article called "Cleaner Lakes or Dirtier Lakes," and it's a new article from Science Magazine a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
It struck me because it said that there are some conditions in some lakes when you try to mitigate phosphorus in those lakes, you create more nitrogen. You create more nitrogen flowing out of those lakes. That caught my eye, and I wanted to ask the question. I read the précis in the front of the Science, and this afternoon I read the article here in the back, which I don't understand all of, but they did say something important. They said that the lakes they're talking about are 12 lakes: Garda, Iseo, Huron, Michigan, Superior, Ontario, Maggiore, Como, Constance, Vautrin, and Lucerne. Big lakes.
Big lakes.
Huge lakes.
Huge lakes.
Huge lakes. And they found out that in those, if you mitigate phosphorus, if phosphorus is a problem, you start getting a dirty lake, they start mitigating it if they discover that, as a matter of fact, because of the way things work, and I'm not going to say why,
Right.
more nitrogen flows out of those lakes into the rivers and so forth than they did before. And the only question I guess I have, is that at all, they only did the large lakes because they had the information on the larger lakes. Is it relevant to us at all? Does it have anything to do with us?
I think if I understand correctly what you just said, then what happens with freshwater ponds or freshwaters is that phosphorus is a limiting factor.
Yes.
So if you put it in, then all of a sudden there's a lot of biological activity, and you start binding up nitrogen and phosphorus and other things into microalgae and that type of thing. Okay, so if you curtail the phosphorus in the lake, then that productivity is limited. And therefore the nitrogen would stay dissolved and would flow out.
That's right.
I think
Exactly.
that's
exactly what they're
basically
saying.
the assumption that
I don't
we get.
understand the chemistry, but that's
Yeah, but
exactly
it's
what they're saying.
basically the balance. That's what they mean by limiting factor. is
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that's a technical explanation of this technical
If
paper.
I'm correct, yeah.
We're not putting any phosphorus into Crocker Pond,
No,
so.
we're not talking about Crocker Pond.
Right, okay, so I'm just saying that this does not affect us
This
locally.
has nothing to do with Crocker.
we don't
Okay,
know
fine.
if we're
The
going
question is whether it has to do with,
We do.
We do.
the question is whether it has to do
Who's
with
the
any of
soil
the ponds
chemist in
where
this
we have
room?
phosphorus
Yes,
in there.
I
and where
understand.
we start trying to limit it. Is that
Yeah.
going to make it more difficult for us
Right,
to deal with
I don't
that?
think it's applicable at this point.
We don't know, certainly we don't know this applicable. Anyway, I just thought it was
No,
fascinating.
it's good to bring these things around. We all learn something
Yeah.
from the discussion. Any other reports from members or staff? If not, we'll move on to the minutes, which have more than the usual level of concern.
Competing amendments.
Oh, before we address, because I know there's at least two sets of possible edits here. You do a wonderful job. I'm addressing our minute taker here. You do a wonderful job, and I think the only criticism you're going to find is that it is too wonderful, because you get into so much detail that everybody gets a chance to look at it and say, well, you got one word wrong here. And we're not saying that at all. I think there may be a couple of words that we wish we hadn't said. There may be some that actually should be corrected. But the minutes have been better than we deserve and better than we need, frankly. We can't express that too much.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did incorporate Virginia's edits in.
There were, I gave you corrections.
A correction.
Yeah, yeah, mine were not substantive edits, there were names and dates and things.
And the C is what it's saying, like you gave me for this.
Yep, I gave you some names of
Just
people
names of
and
people and
a couple of numbers.
other little phrases and whatnot. So those have all been done.
Okay.
Just,
Okay, well, does it, I know there are some others,
Okay, so I have something from Ron,
right?
and
Right.
was there anybody else who did edits?
I had one or two.
Okay, well, let's just go through it.
Okay. My own first page, second paragraph.
is this for October 3rd?
Yes.
October 16th. No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
We get-
October 3rd.
Oh, we get different ones here. Okay, I want to do October 3rd first, fine. Okay, these are these Ron's with the red lines?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, yep.
You want to kind of lay them out for us? Do you have them?
No, I don't have it
Oh.
with me. I'm sorry.
Well, okay,
I can look
printed
at
some out
yours
here.
if you like. Yeah, then I can.
Okay, this is the Oyster Pond presentation by Wright Pierce. You wanted to add at the end of that paragraph, including the importance of controlling phosphorus entering the pond in addition to nitrogen that is regulated via TMDLs.
Right, that's what he was talking about.
That Mr. Leonard talked about that.
Right.
Okay. You don't think the first half of the sentence covers it enough, where it says, Mr. Leonard carefully explained the detailed scientific technical information on each slide?
I think one of the things that well, Yes, but I think that that point was one that was, he raised it, I think, because we were not, the focus had been on nitrogen. And so it was sort of a key element that was an add-on that basically, it means that we're not just
Okay.
looking at meeting a nitrogen TMDL.
Right,
We're
okay.
also looking at the need to
In that particular
control.
water body, right.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
Okay.
Because I thought it brought, and a lot of people spoke to that. Actually,
Sure.
Wendy spoke to it, and as well
Okay.
as
All
Bill.
right. You want to move that line as an addition then?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and.
I'll second it.
Seconded to add the line that says, including the importance of controlling phosphorus entering the pond in addition to nitrogen that's regulated via TMDLs. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You got it. The second one he's got down at the bottom section of that page,
It's just factual.
it's factual.
And-
Linda
and-
Jones, who was a board member of Treetops Association, described the effort.
I'll move it.
To be fair, you didn't know what her name, and that's her name.
I actually have it above, but I didn't attribute it
Oh.
to.
Okay, so it should be attributed.
Yeah.
Any objection to that?
Nope.
Done. Second page, under number 2, special legislation. The efforts of the working group to give the best, fairest, and here's the language he adds, and most affordable possible charge to homeowners, particularly low-income home and business owners. Want to add that? Any objection to that?
No, I don't think so.
Done? Okay, third page, down at the bottom, home rule petition, eco toilets. We're adding a good bit to what Mr. Zweig said. After he said Dr. McBride claimed there were flaws in Echologic's report, there's quite a long piece here that Mr. Zweig added to what the minutes draft said, he said. Anybody else have a copy of this besides me and Virginia? And not Ron?
No, I can
Oh, you can
look
find
it, I
yours?
can look it
Okay.
up, yeah, I can look it up.
Sure.
I sent it around, yeah, to
Yeah,
everyone,
it
so.
did go around. The red part down here is what it is.
Well, Ron did say those things. We didn't get into a point counterpoint. I mean, like having rainwater diluting samplings that are being taken 30 feet below the water table. I mean, Ron, you said some things that are just
You're right, we're moving on to.
not possible,
ecological.
but you did say them.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I did say it, though, yeah, I
Okay.
did say
The
it.
only issue would be if, I mean, Carol can't take down everything that
Right.
everybody
No.
says, and no one would want her to.
Right.
Right.
And so we rely on her impartiality to take down approximately an equal amount, percentage of what everybody says. If then we each go back and amplify our section, you could get into a weird little
Well, I did,
war.
it's only one, there were a lot of other things I could amplify. but- Just the one thing
That's
there,
a
it's
true
not a big
statement.
deal, I can amplify a lot here.
That there is one substantive thing in addition to what he did or didn't say, and that's see attached comments from Ecologic and Dr. McBride. Did we agree that we were going to attach Ecologic's report and rebuttal to the minutes? I can't
I don't know.
remember. We don't usually do that. They are posted on the web, right? Everything's posted on the web.
Sure.
They are
So-
posted on the web,
So for me, this particular edition had two issues. One was, do we include this level of detail? Yes, he said it. And the other was, shall there be an additional attachment to the minutes? And I think we should discuss those two separately.
Right. See attached comments from Ecologic and Dr. McBride. Well, let's take that one first. Is there a motion to amend the minutes by including the attached comments from Ecologic and Dr. McBride? Failing that, is there a motion to deal with the first set of language that is being proposed here? Failing that,
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay?
Actually, I'll make a motion on both of them.
all right, we have the motion on the first one. Do I have a second? This is the one about attaching the comments to the minutes.
Or, I mean, if they're online, if we put online, then
they're
that's
on-
fine.
they're-
That's
I
fine
think
then.
the minutes are
That's
long
fine,
enough.
yeah.
But not the back and forth. So what is online are McBride's comments and Ecologic's response to those
Okay.
comments.
Right.
The subsequent chain of emails are not online.
Well, they could just be linked, just put on the, not separately, it'd just be put as attachments to the whole, so people can see the whole exchange. That would be great.
That's a question that you guys need to decide. Do you want to have email chain discussions posted as links on our website?
Well, I guess the question is, this particular email discussion is the only one at issue. We're not going to make a policy of.
Great.
Which would then set a precedent. for
Well,
other
yeah,
people.
yeah. Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Okay.
We had a formal question and response from Ecologic and McBride, and that is on the website, and I think that's sufficient, along with the reports themselves.
All right. Well, I haven't heard a second on this one.
No
And
second.
if there's no second, we'll move on to the first one. Do I get a second on that one? Next page. Report on Mass DOT plan for road runoff. Mr. Zweig is adding language that says, although the system would avoid surface runoff going directly into Crocker Pond over the ground, Ms. Valiella stated that water infiltrated at the site would still ultimately enter Crocker Pond. Does Mrs. Valiella have an opinion on that?
Well, that was asked, that's right. They go
Okay.
into the infiltration basins, they will filter down, they will reach the water table. This is on the upstream side of Crocker Pond, so eventually this water will reach Crocker Pond. It won't be in the same, it'll be in cleaner condition.
Yeah.
So I remember saying that. It's a true statement. Again, it's an additional detail. I'm not quite sure why Ron wants to have it in here, but it's a hydrological fact. That's true.
Right. Well, if somebody moves it or seconds it, we'll do something with it. Okay. Last page. Okay. SMAS technical memos, review and vote to accept.
Chairman, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
people understand, I'm abstaining because.
Well, you weren't at the earlier meeting.
Weren't
okay.
here.
Okay. Okay, he's changing SON becomes
SOND, yes,
SONDE.
that's
So
correct.
That is a correction that
Yes.
I think
Yep.
Yeah.
everyone would agree
Yep.
is appropriate. 24-hour monitoring, is that part of that? SONDE, 24-hour monitoring? That- Do you have that one in there?
I have the SONDE, but not the other part that's in the.
Okay, is 24-hour monitoring part of SONDE?
Yep.
Okay, so that's
I
a
would call
technical thing, I guess.
Continuous monitoring, but 24 hours fine.
Okay, the next piece is, he's crossed out summer and put in July and August 2013.
That's fine.
No objection to that? Then he added a sentence, this is quoting himself, that Mr. Zweig indicated that he would like to see some revision, additional graphic presentations to the data to make the tables more easily comparable. He did say that?
Yep.
Does anybody have objection?
No, I
Okay.
think it's fine.
So those three pieces, give me a motion and a second, we'll do them.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Okay.
Okay.
Could-
Any
yeah,
other
could-
additions or corrections to October 3rd?
Can we go through Virginia's suggestions?
Okay.
Mine were all technical.
Yeah, fine.
Can-
Let's go through them.
Linda Jones
Do you want to identify which they were?
and the SOND,
Yeah, no, that's fair,
There
because,
was correction of Wendy Buessler's name,
yes, typo.
Right.
and on page 3, in quotation marks, mentioning up and down stream monitoring at the wastewater treatment facility.
Okay.
No detected difference in, and then additional monitoring wells at site 7 will detect any. So I think Virginia had inserted at site 7.
At site 7.
Right,
oh, so the previous version didn't say where.
correct.
Got it. Okay.
And then the last correction was again indicating the 100-year window at site 7 allows for. So just for clarity.
Okay. Is that, people comfortable with those?
Do we need them?
Well, yeah. Well, give me a motion. We should do these by the same fashion, I guess. Do I get a motion on this?
So
I'll move it.
Okay, second. Further discussion? All in favor? Got it. Okay, any other corrections to October 3rd's minutes or additions or?
I'll move the October 3rd minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? No nays. Okay. I just had one, this is now October 16th. I had one on the second paragraph. The chairman briefly summarized the background of the issue, focusing on the fact that the sewer system that was built 30 years ago, I'm sure I didn't say sewer system, I think we said treatment system.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously the sewer system was not the one that treated the effluent. It was the treatment system,
Details.
which gets you to the second half of that line, where it currently says, did not contain a design for effluent. And I think what they did say is it did not adequately treat effluent, which resulted in high nitrogen wastewater heading toward West Falmouth Harbor. And we understood the wastewater was heading there, but it was the high nitrogen that was the problem. So at least that's the picture that West Falmouth heard. That was it? Anyone want to move that one?
Move it.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
No, I can't second, I wasn't there.
Oh,
second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We got it. Any other additions to be proposed for the October 16th minutes? If not, we want to move to accept them as amended.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
So-
Opposed? Got it.
Okay, so Sia's comments were not included then.
They were names, so you want me to go through the names that I
I'm
corrected?
just saying, I don't know, I mean, there were other changes
Oh,
though.
no, you had changes that were...
She said, I thought Carol had said that you incorporated
I
the
did, I incorporated the changes,
but-
there were some names you gave them.
Okay, can you tell us what they were?
Sure. Want me to go through, because I have my track changes here.
Yeah.
So
Actually requested
it said
that
an
we do this.
unidentified woman, Sue Moran was her name.
Okay, so
So
you
Sue
put in
Moran,
a name,
Katie
yeah.
Taylor.
Yeah.
The other one was that there are two possible tests, how one of these tests, so I'm on the bottom of page 2.
Yes.
So Tom Sweeney asked about how this test and what it consists of. And I explained that there are two possible tests and how one of those tests, a soil column experiment, was conducted.
Yep.
Then I said Todd Freeman on page 3, which was the name of the person.
Yep.
And that looks like it.
And
Okay.
then there was a next one about hostile to the, I had said hostile to the area, and it was hostile to the idea. This is on the bottom of page 3,
Yes,
in
yeah,
quotation.
that was a good one.
Ah, right. Yep.
Yes, DEP was hostile to the idea, not
Yes,
to the area.
not to the area. DEP was not hostile to the area. It was hostile to the idea, right. I caught that one, but for some
Okay.
reason I didn't.
All right, so let's have a motion to incorporate those.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So now we can adopt those. No other amendments for this particular set of minutes. We can adopt the amended version that we've all just created. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Got it. Okay. In the future, I think it's fair to say that maybe all corrections should come to the committee at the same time.
I thought originally they were all supposed to come to you, or?
Well, yeah, somehow or other, so we can take them up, and they shouldn't go straight to Carol.
Right. I thought originally we weren't supposed to send anything to Carol directly.
Right, well, I think that's, obviously, we've slipped away from that, we should get back to it. So, yeah, send them to me, and we'll present them as a group.
Even typos.
Well, even typos, I guess, yeah, because, one man's technical correction is another man's technical argument.
I'll call you if you spell my name wrong.
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
No,
Okay.
but many people do.
Any further business to come before the committee?
Just one comment, that there would be no water quality meeting on
good point.
November 6th, which is our normal first Thursday
Right.
of the month,
Right.
because we'll be at
Right,
precinct
he'll-
meetings.
He'll be out to sea, and three of us will be at precinct meetings, so there'd be no point to having
No,
a
wait,
meeting.
November 7th,
It's
November
w- 1 week
I'm
from
sorry,
today.
November 7th.
yes.
Right, the next week's
Oh.
meeting.
No,
No, we said originally there was. gonna be one.
Thursday's the 7th. I'm
Seventh,
sorry,
yeah.
I had the wrong
Yeah.
date. November 7th.
Yeah, we don't need a November 7th meeting. We couldn't get a quorum if we had one.
So when is the next meeting?
21st.
Okay. I have it on there,
Right.
After town
I'm
meeting.
assuming we'll all be attending the town meeting,
Yes.
and we'll figure out between now and then the format for our stuff.
yeah. So we're not going to have a meeting before the town meeting?
Not on the 7th. We might meet like an hour before the meeting or something like that, but,
Right, okay.
What about meetings in December? Is it premature?
oh, good question.
The 1st and 3rd would
First
probably work.
and third?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 5th, well, now, if Jerry's right about the scheduling of the MIPA hearing, it may well be on the 4th or the 5th of December. So if it is, that may be our meeting, because we'll all want to be at that.
Where would that be?
We did this once before.
Right.
We met as a committee
At-
before the meeting of the MIPA meeting, and then we all went to the MIPA meeting. We went in one room in the library, and then the hearing was in
Herman.
the
Well,
other
I
room.
think he said he reserved the Herman room.
Right,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
But there will be a meeting.
We'll
that
have to reserve, was the Bay Room then also?
Yeah, we
Which
could
was
have the
right
Bay Room
that
and
is.
meet
Right.
and do our
So,
own.
so it's a question mark for the 4th or 5th.
Right.
And the
Yeah,
19th.
Those are the two dates that he told the commission would work for us. We're hoping that they would work for them.
And then the 19th?
And the 19th,
Provisionally, yeah.
Provisionally, right.
Okay.
Well, thank you. You've all been very patient, and unless there's any further business to come before the committee, a motion to adjourn from Matt will be gratefully accepted. Made, so moved, seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.